Hey, welcome in. Well, here's a headline. Cartoon Network breaks down gender pronouns in cute new PSA. I'm sure it's very cute. This is from Pride.com, so of course they're all in favor of this. Because, of course, it's a great thing to try and attempt to confuse millions and millions and millions of children by pushing this very recent new social dogma on children. I mean, on everybody. But here, this is specifically for children. This is the Cartoon Network. I don't know. May I be the first to say that I'm not sure it's a good idea? You know, what this does is going to confuse a bunch of children who don't have any real sense of gender or sexuality or anything like that. They're just kids. And yes, there will be a tiny number who experience serious and persistent gender dysphoria. But this just seems like a giant social experiment that's being played on all of the children, which seems insanely reckless and irresponsible. And again, this is all brand new. I mean, why is society just diving in head first? Why is the Cartoon Network diving in head first on something that we don't know the consequences of yet? I mean, we do know some of the consequences. They're not good. And here's the thing. I mean, I believe in liberty. I believe adults should be able to do whatever the hell they want. It's none of my business. But we're talking about kids here. And again, we're talking about what is essentially a giant social experiment. For what? For leftist dogma? Anyway, it says here, and of course this article is very in favor of this. In their latest initiative with the National Black Justice Coalition, Cartoon Network enlists BALONEY of Steven Universe and Craig of the Creek to give an important lesson on gender pronouns. They're calling it here a lesson, right? They're teaching the children, right? They're essentially teaching, the children that all of human history is wrong. Now let's see this comic strip here. Show somebody here saying, "Hi Alex, I'm Stephanie. My pronouns are they, them." Then there's a little kid next to it saying, "Hi, Stephanie, this is my friend Alex." And then there's the friend Alex, who looks like a teenager, saying, "Nice to meet you. I use they, them pronouns too." And they're both kind of androgynous. This Stephanie has kind of long hair, but they both are quite androgynous. Let's see, next panel. "Wow, it's a relief to know people who affirm who I am. It's a relief to know people who affirm who I am. Yay." This is a new thing too, like being affirmed. Everybody around you has to affirm you. It kind of used to be like you were kind of responsible for yourself. That seems to work. That really did seem to work quite well. Now everybody has to affirm you, like it's on everybody else. And you know what? The thing is, kids aren't going to understand any of this. What little kids? What is a 3-year-old going to understand this? Like, no. Let's see. It says here, "It is beyond adorable and an especially powerful lesson for young people looking to understand the world around them with kindness and empathy." It's always that. It's kindness and empathy. Unless you don't agree with them, right? Then you're one of the bad guys from World War II. And you should get punched, right? But no, they're all about kindness and empathy. They're not at all about canceling people and destroying people's lives and careers. No, none of that. None of that at all. Let's see. Quote, "This comic was created to embrace and acknowledge the role of selfhood and inclusion." What does that even mean? Selfhood? Selfhood? What? These are all just platitudes. It's meaningless. Let's see. Here's something the Cartoon Network official Twitter pushed out. It says here, "Gender pronouns. We can't tell someone's gender just by looking at them, and shouldn't assume we know. There are many gender identities beyond girl or boy. Some people don't identify as any gender, and that is nonsense. There are not many gender identities beyond boy and girl." That's just my opinion, right? Look, we are a sexually reproducing species, male and female, right? These are different bodies. Men and women have different bodies. We have different genetics. There are very rare cases of people with hermaphroditic traits, but this is very, very rare. And yes, there are adults who feel that they are in the wrong body, okay? And what they do, they do. I mean, and with my blessing, okay? But we're talking about adults there. We're not talking about children. We're not, and that is where this, and that is the danger here when you start confusing children about who they are, who they just naturally are. And, with this, you can't tell just by looking at somebody. Well, maybe not always, but I'm going to say no more. But that ain't Sylvester Stallone, all right? Just going to interrupt for 1 second to say, if you like this content, subscribe so you can see more. Thanks a lot. But we have this. I mean, and we're talking about kids here. We're talking about the Cartoon Network, right? Talking about kids here. KHN Morning Briefing. This is summaries of health policy coverage from major news organizations. Research on children growing out of gender dysphoria adds layer of complexity to transgender care. Although research shows that up to 94% of children will grow out of their transgender identity, advocates say that those studies were flawed in the first place and shouldn't dictate how doctors care for young children who want to socially transition. Well, how flawed would this study? 94% of children will grow out of their transgender identity or their gender dysphoria? 94%? Well, how off were they? 10%? 20%? What about 50%? Would that add a layer of complexity if it was only 50%? That'd still be a pretty big number, right? And the people who are doing this stuff, they're marketing this to children, are well aware of the fact that, and maybe, I don't know, maybe hoping for it, hoping that kids will, be gender dysphoric, because children are very susceptible to suggestion. As we know, they want to please adults. They want to please other kids. They want to get attention. And it's certainly a way to get attention. And because they're only seeing positives, they're not seeing, nobody's telling them about like suicide rates or anything like that. Obviously, because, well, that would be counterproductive to the goal. But if you've got a bunch of confused kids who normally would just grow into their bodies, maybe some of them are gay, which is fine. I have no problem with that. Nobody has any problem with that anymore. So, but my point is that if you've got a bunch of confused kids who are trying to please other people, and of course, there will be genuine cases of gender dysphoria. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you've got a lot of kids who, some of them are just going to be kind of confused, or maybe they don't have a big peer group or something. They're looking for a way. They're seeing something here where they're just hearing nothing but positive stuff about nothing negative, only positive stuff. They see it as a way to be accepted or to get attention, right? And where does that lead? Well, that leads you to hormone blockers. And again, there are going to be people that do have, persistent gender dysphoria. That is a real thing. But I don't understand why you would be pushing this on all children when you don't know what the effects are going to be. It's not like every kid who watches the Cartoon Network is going to become gender dysphoric because they're hearing things that, should never apply to them. But we know that children are very suggestive, right? And they don't know who they're going to be. They don't know their brain. Your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. It just seems to me that, something like this is just going to steer, though, some percentage of kids into really tragedy. And there's obviously a huge potential that whatever good they would hope to achieve by this is going to be massively outweighed by a bunch of harm they're going to do to young minds. Again, gender dysphoria is very rare. This is not a topic that children should be dealing with. They, them, different genders, millions of different genders. These are nonsense things for children and are going to confuse them, and they won't be able to understand it. They'll just know what you want to hear, right? They'll just know what their instructors want to hear. They'll just know what apparently the cartoon characters want them to think, right? Which I frankly think is completely insane and irresponsible. And this is a giant social experiment that I am very afraid of the outcome of. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you'd just like to listen, there's the podcast, Radio BALONEY. It's on pretty much every platform. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.